Would you believe it? A broke kid with only $100 left to his name took over a dying water delivery station, and in just 3 months, he brought every competitor on the street to their knees and generated millions in cash flow. His name is Leo. Right now, he is sitting on the curb, his knuckles white as he clenches that single $100 bill, his entire life savings. In front of him stands an old water station with peeling walls, a chipped sign, and dusty buckets piled up at the entrance. Everyone is convinced that this place is the final stop on his road to bankruptcy. Even more desperate is the fact that 5 other water stations are crammed onto this one street, locked in an endless, cutthroat price war. The price of a jug of purified water has been slashed from $5 down to $2. After deducting rent, gas, and the wear and tear on the buckets, the net profit per delivery is a pathetic 50 cents. This isn't a sunset industry, it is a quicksand of bankruptcy. Competitors mock him, saying he's digging his own grave, and neighbors are waiting to watch him pack up and leave. No one thinks this poor kid can make any waves, but everyone is wrong. Leo's ambition was never about selling water. The first thing he did after taking over wasn't firing staff, lowering prices, or selling the business. Instead, he bought some paint and a brush. On that worn-out sign, he wrote 4 red words that made everyone lose their minds. Drink water for free. Everyone thought he had been driven crazy by the pressure. Free delivery? That isn't charity. That's suicide. But no one knew that hidden behind those 4 red words was a top-tier business trap, identical to the one used by a young Warren Buffett capable of making big money fast. The news spread through the community like a virus. The owners of the neighboring water stations gathered to laugh at him, calling him a desperate gambler who would be packing his bags in less than a month. Neighbors gathered in small groups at the station entrance, ready to watch the joke unfold, debating amongst themselves. No one truly believed they could drink free water for life. But Leo's next move froze the smiles right on their faces. He welcomed everyone who walked through the door with a smile, his tone sincere and firm. Rest assured, I keep my word. You don't need to pay a single cent for water fees. It is truly free to drink. All I require is a $150 deposit for the smart water dispenser. The deposit is fully refundable at any time. As long as the deposit is there, I cover all the water you drink for the rest of your life. Plus, I'll give you an extra 100 jugs every year, delivered to your door for free. You don't have to lift a finger. This sounded like a complete scam, or perhaps a suicidal act of charity after all. Water costs money, and delivery requires labor. Any way you calculated it, it looked like a guaranteed loss. But no one expected that in less than 2 weeks, Leo would sign up 2,000 families. His bank account instantly held $300,000 in cash flow. This money was enough to completely revitalize the dying water station, and it gave him the fuel for an even bigger ambition. While you are still racking your brains calculating how much money Leo loses on water every day or when he will go bankrupt, he has quietly activated the most powerful weapon in business history, financial leverage. Many people think this operation, using free as bait, earning cash flow, and playing with leverage, was Leo's original invention. But in fact, decades ago, someone played the exact same trick, only harder and sharper. That person was the man later hailed as the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. And at the time, he was just a 17-year-old boy. It was the mid-1940s. The 17-year-old Buffett was different from all his peers. Other teenagers were either busy studying or squeezing in time to work at fast food joints for meager hourly wages, counting pennies for pocket money. But Buffett had no interest in relying on his own hands for repetitive labor to make money. In his bones, he believed that trading time for money was the stupidest way to live. He was looking for a way to make money beget money. By chance, he set his sights on a used pinball machine worth $25. In those days, $25 was not a small sum. It was equivalent to several days' wages for an average worker, enough to buy several new outfits or treat friends to big meals. Buffett didn't hesitate. He took the allowance he had saved for a long time and bought the machine, but he didn't take it home to play, nor did he set up a stall on the street. Instead, he made a decision that surprised everyone. He went to the busiest barbershop in the city to negotiate a nothing-down deal. He scouted the barbershop for a full day beforehand, counting the number of customers and calculating the average wait time, a full 30 minutes. Once he understood the situation, he gathered his courage and approached the owner. His tone was steady, neither humble nor arrogant, showing none of the awkwardness of a teenager. "Boss, I've been watching all day. Your customers have to wait half an hour in line. During that half hour, they have nothing to do, they're bored. Sometimes they even give up and leave because the wait is too long. costing you business. I have a pinball machine. I'll put it here for free. I won't charge you a cent of rent, and you don't need to maintain it. For every penny your customers spend playing the game, we split it 50 over 50. You don't have to pay anything, you don't have to worry about anything. Just give me a power outlet and let the machine run. The barber's eyes lit up. He did the math in his head. He didn't have to pay a dime, didn't have to bear any risk, just had to provide an outlet, and he could earn extra income while keeping waiting customers occupied. It was like picking up money for free. There was no reason to refuse. So, the barber agreed to Buffett's proposal on the spot and placed the pinball machine in the most visible part of the waiting area. Buffett didn't slack off. That very night, he made a special trip to the barbershop to check on the machine and collect the money. When he opened the coin box, even he was a little surprised it was packed full of coins. He scooped them out and counted them over and over again. A solid $4. You have to realize, $4 was equivalent to a full day's earnings for a teenager working a job back then. And this was earned without lifting a finger. While he was sleeping or studying, this machine had already made money for him. Please pay attention to this next detail. This is the watershed moment that separates the rich from the poor, and it is one of the core mindsets that later made Buffett a billionaire. Most 17 years old, upon getting that $4, would immediately go buy a burger, see a movie, or buy a gadget to reward themselves. But Buffett didn't touch a cent. He carefully collected all the coins, sat on the steps outside the barbershop, and seriously did the math. He calculated, one machine earns $4 a night, that's $28 a week. Deducting occasional maintenance, he nets about $25 a week, which is exactly the price of a new used pinball machine. In other words, as long as he stuck with it for 1 week, he would have enough money to buy a second machine. By the second week, with 2 machines earning money together, he could buy a third, then a fourth. Before long, more and more machines would be generating income for him continuously. He walked the walk. Buffett strictly followed his plan, reinvesting every penny of profit into expanding the business. He didn't covet immediate small gains or spend money on consumption. Instead, he kept buying new machines and replicating the first model, negotiating with busy barbershops in every district of the city. Because he had the first success story, combined with his sincere and professional negotiation, more and more barbers were willing to cooperate with him. In just 3 short months, Buffett controlled the waiting areas of barbershops all over Washington, D.C. With dozens of machines running simultaneously, they brought him steady income every day. He no longer had to work for an hourly wage like his peers. He only needed to spend a little time each day collecting money and checking machines. The rest of the time could be used for learning, thinking, or finding new opportunities. Once, chatting with his best friend Don Danley, who was his partner in this business, responsible for repairs, he said something that influenced his entire life, a sentence that perfectly interpreted his wealth mindset. I don't need to make money myself. I just need to let the people getting haircuts make money for me while they are bored. And Don Danley, seeing through Buffett's vision, worked alongside him, becoming the most important partner in his early business journey. Seeing this, you should understand this is the logic Leo is perfectly replicating. That $300,000 deposit is not his revenue, it is his pinball machine. Those families drinking free water are not his customers. They are the people getting haircuts making money for him. And the cash flow he earned using free water as bait is the leverage he uses to pry open a larger business map. He took that $300,000 and didn't buy a luxury car or luxury goods. He didn't enjoy it. Instead, he went straight to the city's largest filter production factory. At the time, that factory was on the verge of layoffs or even bankruptcy due to poor cash flow. The factory director was anxious and overwhelmed. Leo didn't beat around the bush. He slammed the $300,000 on the director's desk and made a crazy demand that the director couldn't refuse. I want to use this money to pre-purchase your filter capacity for the next 10 years. The condition is that the price must be half the market price, and I want to own 30% of your factory's shares. The director looked at the money on the table, knowing it was his lifeline. As long as he got this money, the factory could survive, avoid layoffs, and weather the storm. With no other choice, the director gritted his teeth and signed the agreement. Leo, with just $300,000, took control of one of the water station's core supply chains. Immediately after, Leo used the same method to find a plastic bucket production line that was in the off-season with plummeting orders. He showed up with cash flow, exchanging a substantial prepayment for the right to a low-price supply of plastic buckets, while also buying into the factory to further compress his costs and control upstream resources. Now, let's pull the perspective back to that free water station mocked by competitors and see what Leo's real trump card is. Originally, the comprehensive cost for Leo to deliver a jug of water, including the bucket, filter, labor, and transport, was $1.50. But after he took control of the upstream filter and bucket factories, because he was both a shareholder and a bulk pre-purchaser, he got the lowest internal prices. His cost per jug dropped directly to a shocking $0.30. This cost was almost negligible. And for those 2,000 families, although their total annual water consumption was large, Leo didn't need to use his own money to cover the costs. He only needed to take that $300,000 deposit and put it into simple financial management or operations in the money market. The interest generated was enough to cover all delivery costs and machine wear and tear, with money left over. What does this mean? It means that through the bait of free drinking water, Leo not only didn't lose money, but he also obtained a huge, interest-free long-term loan, $300,000 deposit. More importantly, he used this money to complete his control over the means of production, completely breaking out of the underlying logic of selling water to earn the price difference. He was no longer a water station boss working hard for meager profits. He had become an invisible capitalist, making money by controlling the supply chain and operating cash flow. The logic gets even scarier. Because of that $150 deposit and the promise of lifetime free water, these 2,000 families were locked tight into Leo's ecosystem. They wouldn't easily ask for a refund, because refunding meant they could no longer drink free water. They wouldn't choose other water stations, because no condition was more attractive than free. When these families' water dispensers needed filter changes, they had to go to Leo, because only Leo could provide the compatible filters, and he dictated the price. When they needed home cleaning or appliance repair services, Leo's delivery guys would casually hand over a coupon, guiding their consumption. Leo, just like that, easily mastered the right of entry to these 2,000 homes. In the business world, there is an iron law. Whoever can enter the customer's doorstep, whoever can lock in the customer's long-term needs, owns absolute pricing power and can earn a steady stream of money. This is why you often see those top giant companies willing to lose billions to seize the traffic entry point: Uber subsidizing drivers and passengers, food delivery apps subsidizing merchants and users. All sorts of free apps emerge one after another. What they want is never the product profit. What they want is your deposit, your time, your attention, and total dominance over your consumption habits. Like Leo, and like the young Buffett, they are all using the cheapest bait to hook the biggest capital leverage. The poor forever stare at the $2 profit on that bucket of water, calculating the gain and loss of every drop, agonizing over immediate small benefits, relying on their own hands for repetitive labor to earn the hardest money. But people like Leo and Buffett never stare at the meager profit of the product itself. They stare at how to use the cheapest bait to attract massive cash flow, and then use that cash flow to pry open a larger business map, letting other people's money and other people's time charge into battle for them. Now, think back to your life. The free apps you are using seem to cost nothing, yet they are quietly collecting your spending habits and pushing ads to you, making you spend money unknowingly. The interest-free installments you are enjoying seem to have no interest, but they are silently locking up your cash flow, trapping you in a consumption pit. That boss at your doorstep who suddenly holds an event giving away free gifts seems to be giving up profit, but is actually attracting you into the store to push more high-priced products. You think you got a deal, you think you beat the system, but in reality, you might just be that pinball in someone else's business system, unknowingly making money for them. In the jungle of wealth, there is a cruel truth. If you can't spot the prey, then it is very likely that the prey is you. Leo's story is far from over. He is already planning to use the same model to acquire the dry cleaning shops on the entire street. He doesn't need to know dry cleaning technology, nor does he need to know how to run a dry cleaning shop. He only needs to understand human nature, understand business systems, understand how to use free as bait, and understand how to let other people's money and labor earn money for him. Finally, let me ask you a question. In this game of wealth, are you working hard for money, repeating labor every day for a meager wage? Or are you learning to use mindset and leverage to let money work for you and let others earn money for you? Tell me in the comments, what is the most shocking free trap you have ever seen? Don't forget to follow the Sober Lab. If you don't plan to evolve with us, don't want to see through the underlying logic of business, and don't want to break free from the trap of working for money, then this might be the last time we meet. But if you crave to see through the rules, crave to master the wealth mindset, and crave to let money work for you, then I'll see you in the next story.